Okay, we're back. We're better than ever.
We're better than ever?
Yeah, it's I'm in Control podcast.
Yes.
And it's a new episode. I am the Charity E.
I'm June Speed.
I am Janae.
I'm Misha08.
And we have a special guest.
Special.
Girl. We have a special guest today. I would introduce it, but I feel like Misha would do a much better job. So Misha, tell them who we got.
Always. We have, to the left of me, Laterras R. Whitfield is more than a man with a unique name. He's an entertainer, a writer, a Christian, and a foster care dad, and adoption advocate. Also, we need y'all to know that he's a 3-time regional Emmy-nominated video producer and cinematographer. Ooh, that was a lot. But lastly, he is the host of the very successful, very popular, very poppin' Dear Future Wifey podcast.
Hey.
Dear Future Wifey.
Oh, what's up? I'll make sure I send you a cash out for that one.
Period.
Yeah, I got
Misha,
Period.
you forgot to say he is a dear friend to the I'm in Control podcast.
Oh, yeah. This
really
is my
is.
family. I'm amongst family right now, so I'm
Yes.
excited.
I feel like everybody we're going to have on, I feel like they're all close
Yeah.
to the family.
They're
Right.
close to the family.
Yeah.
Unless we can bring somebody random. Y'all want to like try to get...
No.
Random?
No,
No.
not right now. But I would like to say this. When we first started our podcast, did he DM me or did he DM Misha? And he said, y'all really serious about this? Because like we were homemade.
Right.
We're still very much on
Yeah. We've grown a little bit, though, you know.
But he gave us some tricks of the trade and pulled us under his belt, and we're so appreciative to that. So how are we looking now, Laterras?
One thing I love is y'all content. Like y'all, I love the chemistry that y'all have, the energy that y'all have, and like all the special effects and all that stuff. That's easy to manufacture, but chemistry and creating great content is something that you just can't come up with easy. So y'all have that. So that's a
thank you.
good secret sauce.
We got the sauce.
I got that sauce.
I feel like if people were to just have like a camera in our homes,
Oh, yeah.
it would just be...
Be a whole reality show.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, kind of disastrous. Almost.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If y'all think the Kardashians are worth keeping up, keep up with the Jacksons and the Evans and the Williams. And
It's a
yeah,
lot.
it's a lot.
It's a lie. It's a lie. Okay, but let's get
He saw
in
it
and
firsthand.
let's get in and kind of ask our guests some questions. So we're gonna start off with the Dear Future Wifey podcast. What made you pick up the mic and be like a podcaster?
Well, it was in the middle of the pandemic, actually the beginning of the pandemic. And my clientele, I do a lot of video production for a lot of clientele, mainly school institutions. And when the pandemic hit, my money just stopped. And so I said, oh gosh, I got to reinvent myself. And God said, you've always made everybody else the client. Now it's time to make yourself the client. And I said, He said, now I want you to go and create some content about you. And what was near and dear to me was my intentions of manifesting my future wifey. And so I said, all right, let's go ahead and do this podcast. And so that's exactly how I started. And I picked up the mic and started interviewing people and hearing their interesting stories.
How many episodes have you had thus far?
I've done going on 54.
In less than a year or out of year?
Yeah,
What?
about a year and 4 months. Because I do 21 each season. I'm on my
Gotcha.
third season.
Okay. Didn't you just reach 1 million?
I hit 1 million. I hit 1 million on one of the videos one of the teaser videos I have on my subscribers on YouTube. I just hit 58,000 today.
Okay.
So I hit
Congratulations.
58,000 on that. And then I have like about, go ahead, big it up.
It's lit. It's lit.
Yeah. And so I've done about 6 videos on my channel that's hit over 100,000 views. And
That's
so
good.
God has just been doing some amazing things, I'm telling you, because I never thought that it'd take off like this.
God, if you did it for him.
You can do it for me.
God, I've seen what you've done for us.
Okay.
Amen. Amen.
He's still in the blessing business.
Yes,
y'all.
he is. Yes, he is.
Janae, you've watched some of his episodes, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and throw out, like, what's one of your favorites, actually?
Okay, so my favorite, first I want to say he has this thing where he says he's going to keep it lit.
Yes.
Which is like, correct me if I'm wrong, is it living intentionally and transparently?
There it is.
Okay, and I appreciate that because I was telling them that I like fake authenticity, but when people really are genuine and they are transparent and willing to show you when they're vulnerable or sometimes their innermost demons, I feel like it resonates more
Yes.
with the common person, and so that person doesn't feel alone. My favorite.
Wait, you said you like fake authenticity?
No, I don't like. I'm sorry. Let me
She
correct
said
that.
she-
Yeah, 'cause I was
she
like, let me
said
correct
fake.
that. You said
Yeah.
you liked
I'm
it.
sorry.
Okay.
I do not. Let me correct
Okay.
that. I do not
I ain't gonna
like
let you look crazy.
fake authenticity.
Okay.
I like that he has taken this his
real.
podcast and all his guests go there. They
Yeah.
are willing to be transparent. They're like, well, can I say this? And he's
Right.
like, we're gonna keep it lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one of the episodes that I watched that actually convicted me was the Essence Atkins episode. And she talked about just how, I want to say after her divorce, but how intentional she was about growing her relationship with God.
Yes.
And the Bible studies. And I was like, I need a Bible study. I
Yes.
actually bought this 52-week book.
Devotional?
Yeah, how you can read the Bible in 52 weeks
Yes.
and then a
Because of
devotional.
that.
Because
Yeah.
of that, but just how she started the school and just everything. I think it was just such a great episode that I was like, okay, he's really going there. So that was my favorite. But I do like how you do take your guest through their story and then you listen intently. And then, when you come out of it, you feel like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the whole podcast is literally people pouring into me. So I didn't, when I created this podcast, it wasn't me trying to give answers and solutions to life's problems or whatnot. It wasn't like, here's 5 steps to getting you a wife and here's 7 steps into getting you a good man. I don't know the answer to all that. I said that what I wanted to do is live transparently and sit as a scholar and as a student of life and glean information from everybody that I have in that seat and allow them to pour into me. And I glean information from people who have been married in successful marriages, those that have been divorced, those that are wanting to be married. When I have women that are single and they've always wanted to be married and never have before, then it makes me really think about how, I can't say lackluster, but the fact that I wasn't extremely intentional about marriage when I was married the first time and understood how to submit to that office of a husband, because I do believe that that's an office that we operate in as husband and wife. And so I said, you know what, now it's time to really get intentional about what marriage is supposed to be. And so I'm in the middle of my marriage vow series where we're really unpacking these marriage vows, and it's hitting me.
See, and that's one thing I always talk to with Misha. So she knows what it's like to be the whole living single, and then I know what it's like to have been in a marriage for over 20 years. 20 years. And so she gives me pointers, but then I also tell her, you have to understand that marriage is more than Instagrammable moments.
Yes.
It's more than cute photo ops and all of that. It's work. So like anything, when it's new, it's new.
Yeah.
But as you grow, and you learn to live with the person and just the ins and outs, it is hard work. And I think people underestimate it.
And I think
so
that
much.
the biggest thing about marriage is, do you really want to put in the work? And that's what I think I hear you're saying, is that you're going to go through these vows, you're going to unpack these vows, you're going to look at in each one of them independently.
Yes.
And say, okay, am I willing? The scripture always says, before you build a house, you got to count up the cost, right?
Talk about it.
So you're just saying, I'm looking for this wife. Are you really looking for a wife?
100%.
Okay. So 100% looking for, y'all hear that? He's looking for a wife. All right. That one on that corner.
We're going to drop his act later on.
But anyway, so, just to know that somebody is really, because I'm always telling women, if you go the Bible route, whom finds a wife finds a good thing. So,
and obtains favor from the Lord.
From the Lord.
Yes.
So the thing is, why aren't the men searching? Terrace?
Because there's so many options out there. So a lot of
Options for a wife or options?
just options, because they're not trying to make women wives. They're just trying to get the benefits of a wife from a woman.
Right.
Did y'all hear that? Stop. Rewind.
That
is a part of my conversation all the time. Y'all stop giving these brothers the benefits of marriage without the responsibility
Without the
of
commitment.
marriage.
There it
okay,
is.
I'm going to sit back.
Yeah. There it is.
Message.
For
What movie is
real.
that from? Do you remember?
That's real. Yeah. When the
be a
Spike
menace.
Lee. Yeah. Don't be a menace.
But
Yeah.
options. So the options. So you have so many options, but why, even with the options, do men not just get tired?
No.
Oh,
and when and those that do get tired, they don't get tired of what's out there to get tired themselves. I have this guest that's coming on. I don't know when this will air, but this guest, 51 years old. He's president of the Alphas in the North Dallas chapter. Okay. And his ex-girlfriend sent him one of my episodes, the same episode you're talking about with Essence. He said it messed him up so bad that he called in sick to work the next day.
Wow.
And he said he started thinking about all the women that he messed over. And he said, man, I messed over my last wife. He said, anytime there's adversity that comes my way, anytime he does a woman wrong and she confronts him, he runs to another woman and starts over. And he says, I've done that all the way back from college. And he said, men, we're not taught to be faithful to one woman. You know, it's like you get a pat on your back by how many women you're smashing. Okay. And so he said that it finally hit him like a ton of bricks, and he says, I'm tired of this. And he inboxed her, he texted her and asked her for my number, and got my number and called me. He said, bro, like,
oh, wow.
He said, your podcast. He said, first I thought she was trying to be funny because that's my ex. And I'm like, why is she sending me this? He said, and I watched it and it just messed me up. He said, I've been crying all day. And he started calling women that he has mistreated in the past and apologized.
Oh, well, that was mature.
No, I don't think I would want all that. Because
you don't want
if
what?
you hurt me in the past, leave that in the past. But I don't want to see you again.
Well, you ain't got to see you.
Closure.
And it's for him. It's his assignment.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
The Bible says if you have an ought with a brother or sister, go and ask for forgiveness. So he has to, and you don't have to listen. You can listen to him or whatever, but he has to be submitted to the authority of God. He has to at least say, listen, I did you wrong.
Tried.
Now, whether or not you accept the apology is up to you.
Right.
And if you hang up in his face, then you hung up in his face, and
hanging
he's
up.
supposed to shake the dust off his feet and move on.
I'm hanging up.
So you tell me, if a guy did you wrong, you wouldn't want them to call you back and say, I apologize.
If this is years later,
Yes.
absolutely not.
Why not?
Like, I have moved on. I have let you go. If you come back and try to talk to me, you're opening up things that I've already let go. Like, you do what you need to do, but don't involve me.
Oh, wow.
You know what
Savage.
I can say? No, you know what I can
Charity,
say?
savage boy.
Charity and I,
Jesus, you're
Charity and
savage.
I
June
I always
Speaks
say
101.
Charity and I always say this. We're both Libras. We're both born in October. And Janae knows this about me. Once I'm done with you because I've given you so many chances to get it right. Like, certain friendships and relationships, I don't want to hear anything. I always say that. I don't care if they come back 10 years from now. Misha, I know I ghosted you. Misha, I hurt your feelings. I don't care. I'll look at you like you're dead to me. I don't care.
But
Once I've gotten over it,
I wouldn't
I'm
mind.
different.
I wouldn't mind the apology because I think a lot of the times, everybody needs different things for healing.
Yes.
And what I've learned, I heard a therapist say that, kind of like what Laterras was saying, we can't care too much about how people respond.
Yes.
The response is that person's responsibility. That person, you're telling your truth for you.
Yes.
And so if that is clearing his conscience, if that is like him really being like apologetic and just saying, I messed up, I was a jerk, I was this, I was that, then that's for him. He can't control how the other person receives it.
Right.
So I'm trying to find a message that I got on IG where this lady, she was on my live this past Thursday, and she was talking about how her husband, she got married real young. I was talking about the subject matter, could you get married too young?
Yes.
And she got married around 19, and her ex-husband left her while she was pregnant with their second child and just left. I'm talking about not just like I'm leaving you. She came home, he was gone. Changed his number. She didn't know where he was. Came back 4 years later. Came back into her life. They live in Jamaica. Came back into their life, her life, and for a little bit, only to get a gun license. He needed somebody to actually be a reference or something, whatever they got laws in Jamaica. But then he got his license and disappeared again. Then, and I was hearing the story, and I began to stand in proxy of her husband, and I apologized to her on behalf of him. Little did I know that he had died a few years after all of that, and in a horrible car crash. She texted me or DM'd me on Instagram the next day, and she said, thank you for she said, I had to hold back the tears. I almost broke down crying because I always wanted my husband to apologize for how he did our family. And I never, ever heard it. And God used you last night to apologize to me on behalf of him, and it healed something in me. And so that's why I said apologies go, it's something that's biblical, and yeah, sometimes you may not be receptive like Charity and this thug over here, Misha.
Thug Mrs.
Yeah. So this thug princess over here, you may not be able to receive it, but I guarantee you that something happens in the spiritual realm, whether you accept it or not, that releases something, because we're commanded to forgive. And you may have forgiven them, or you may have just moved on. I don't know if you forgave them when you walk away and say you're dead to me. But
why don't you can apologize like in a written note. And I'm just saying you can do that, but you don't have to disturb the other person.
I would accept that.
It depends. And if that's the case, like if he felt, because the guy I'm speaking of, he did that as well. Some people are so far removed that he just didn't call him at all. He just, sent it up to the Lord. I was a part of this program called Celebrate Recovery, and that's what they told us when we did our inventory. You go through this part of inventory where you go back in your mind about all the people that hurt you and the people that you've hurt as a chain reaction from that. So some people you call up and say, listen, I apologize for X, Y, Z. Other people you may write a letter and burn it, or our mentor that we had, our accountability partner, we may say that forgiveness to them and say, as they're standing in proxy. So there's many different ways, but clearly the message is for anybody that have wronged Misha or Charity, keep it to yourself.
Just send me a text.
If y'all have wronged me, keep it to yourself.
Okay, and I'll say if you've wronged me, ask the Lord for forgiveness.
And send an email.
And send a text. But maybe calling me, I don't know. It depends on who it is. I don't know.
But it's what you're saying, the apology is actually for the person who has now grown.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's what that's for. And then at least they can say, I attempted to do it.
I tried it.
It's very authentic. For men to apologize, that's huge.
It's huge.
Because he could have just went on knowing, I did all that. God, forgive me.
And
but
move on.
Actually to take responsibility for the hurt. And that was going to be my next question. I heard you say men don't. And I think there is, I'm sorry. When he was talking about, she said, when do men get tired?
Men don't.
Men don't. But we take in the body of Christ. Let's just talk about the church. In the church, it's filled with women most of the time, and all the sermons are toward women.
Yes.
And there's nothing that's pointed. Now, Pastor Brian Carter, my pastor, does a great job having that conversation with men and women. But that was the first time I really saw somebody always just kind of, let me talk to the brothers today, right?
Yeah.
And I said more mentorship toward men, but it is difficult, me mentoring high school girls, to get guys to come in. You know how many people call me and say, hey, can you come and start a boys program? I said, no, they've been mama too much.
Yes.
They need
a man.
They need a man.
But we don't need the brothers out there that's saying pimp or die.
Yep.
We don't need the brothers that say,
She's been around me too much.
out there that's saying, just get all you can while you can. We need men that's saying, doing what you're now doing as you've grown, to say, this is how you handle women.
Yeah. But it's because it is something that's few and far between. It's and as old boy said, he talked about the guy that's on the podcast. He said that you get a pat on your back by how many women you're sleeping with. So, and even while you're married, like he said, all my brothers, all my frat brothers, that's all they doing is cheating on their wives, and no one is telling you, say, bro, what are you doing? Honor that woman.
Right.
It's like you get props for doing that.
Right.
And he said it was the first time he ever heard a man actually say that when I said on my podcast. And I was like, you know what? I walked in shame. When I cheated on my wife in the past, when I was married, that was shameful for me. That's why I didn't even tell my friends about it. I didn't tell nobody about it. I kept my sin in the dark between me and the women I slept with, because I was so ashamed about it. And that's when you're operating in sin. And so, because you're going to try to hide it. Just like when Jesus a guy walked into the garden and he was like, why are you hiding, Adam and Eve? Why are you hiding? Because they knew that they did something they had no business doing, and they hid in shame. And so, So after he and I was talking about that, that's the common thread. But then those that are proud about it, then they tell their friends, "You see that? That's me right there. That's you too." Yeah, I got that's all right. So everybody they just swapping stories and say, "She got a friend." You know what I'm saying? And everybody is just sleeping with everybody, and it's so cool.
I have a question, and it's actually a comment. What I've noticed is my male friends, the closest, like they're truly my friends. Be like, "Oh, you got some homies, just playing."
Yeah.
And you know what they all say? Not that I would let you date you.
Yeah.
All the time.
So my whole thing is like,
They know they friends
if
ain't.
all your friends trash, what? Are you the only one that's not trash?
Right.
Like, that is the common
They all say that.
thread.
Yes.
It's like,
My guy friends too, you know that.
Yeah.
They'll be like, they have plenty of successful, good on paper
They say they ain't
friends,
gonna put you
but they're
in.
like, Misha, I would never. And I'm like, but that's your boy.
Yeah,
Y'all take
but he-
trips, y'all talk every day.
But he ain't dating them. So the
Yeah.
thing about it is that men, we can hang around dudes that are quote unquote foul, but we ain't dating them. We ain't got no
Why
dog
are
in
y'all
that
like
fight.
that? Why are y'all like that?
Because it's the gosh, you can go back all the way to the garden. I mean, it's literally just the sin of man. God created men to be very physical beings. That's just how we are. Even our sex organs are external.
Right.
A woman's sex organ is internal. And so women take a lot of stuff in. Men don't give a dang. They can have sex with you, not care about you emotionally at all, and just be like, man, it was just sex. You know what I'm saying? That's why a man he can be married to you, and y'all can have a whole family, and he can cheat on you, and you like, well, why would you do this? You destroyed our family. He's like, it was just sex. Like, why? It's not that
Right.
serious. How could this destroy our family if all I did was have sex?
but if we had sex,
it destroys. It
Well,
messes
no,
up.
I was
They
gonna
wanna
say,
kill
Kill
I was
the
gonna
whole
say,
kids and dog and everybody.
me and my best friend were talking about how guys, y'all don't fully think it through before, but then afterwards you have like this post-sex clarity, and you'll be like,
post-sex
well,
clarity.
it's a different word.
Right.
I said post-sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, I don't even think I really like that girl, but it was just sex. So
Yeah.
But you know what?
Because it wasn't. Because it
Throw 'em all
wasn't.
away.
It was just. It was just a moment. You got to think about it. I mean, if we get really, really serious, you talking about these average men, and we can go all the way back to men in the Bible that have been called by God. That God took King David all the way from being a shepherd boy to being a king over a palace with. How many concubines did he have and wives did he have? Like crazy. And that still wasn't enough for him. I mean, he still needed that one more. He wanted Bathsheba. And he wanted her so bad that he put her husband on the front line of his army to be killed so he can have Bathsheba to himself.
Trifling.
So when you think about that, and he had everything. He was placed in position by God, had all these women at his beck and call, and still needed one woman. So it takes for a man to actually work hard to say, I want to be faithful and committed to this one woman. But oftentimes we're not taught that. We don't see that. And the more resources you get financially, you want to build that up with multiple women.
So
Unfortunately.
I have a question for you. Do you feel like at our big age, I mean, we're all over 30 here, do you feel like social media, not for you,
Yeah.
because you're now at a place that you're healed and you're looking for a wife, but do you feel like social media affects men and their options? Because, us growing up, we didn't have that.
1,000%.
Okay.
You got to think, like, I didn't even know I didn't know what the Explore page was.
Oh, yeah.
And so one of my homeboys said, because I just got onto IG really last year, promoting my podcast. And one of my homeboys,
you would hardly be on there.
I would never be on IG.
Yeah.
I'm Facebook. I'm old,
Yeah,
so I be
right.
on Facebook. I'm like, why be on IG? All you do is posting pictures. So I didn't understand the need of it. Man, he told me about the Explore page, and now I see all those pictures popping up, and you see all these fitness models popping up, and little shorts on, big booties, nice thighs and legs. You got to think about that a man can get a new woman by DM. He can just all across the world
click.
and just go, hey, how you doing?
Well, so your Explore page is also based on what you're like.
Hey, don't be
I'm
telling me.
just
I'm
saying.
saying, hey, nobody asked you, Cherry.
That is true.
I'm saying that the Explore page. Now, don't talk about my Explore page.
Okay.
I said the Explore page. All right.
So do you think
But-
that, like,
I have a question.
But the whole thing is women have been taught to save yourself, to be abstinent. Men have been taught to, pimp or die. And I think we need to start.
That's so funny when I hear you say that.
I really think that women need to hear it. And I really want the men to take inventory of themselves. It doesn't get you anywhere. King David didn't get anywhere. The thing that he loved the most, his son.
Yeah.
He died, you know. So it doesn't get you anywhere because that's what sin does.
Right.
Sin kills. It destroys. And that you're desiring, you can find it if you choose to find it within that one person.
100%.
So you have to be accountable. And I think a lot of men just don't want accountability. You gotta, when you're having those moments. So if, like you was stated a moment ago, what is the big deal about Instagram? I'd rather be on Facebook. So if Instagram is going to help your eyes kind of wander, then you don't need to be on Instagram. You got to find a way not to do that, because all of us have opportunities to be tempted. Maybe women, it's not sexually, but what if you're a shopaholic? You got to stay out the mall. You got to, you got to put a curtail on what you're seeing, what kind come down your feed. Well, a man can control himself too. It's a choice. So I don't buy that they can. I buy that they're choosing not to.
Oh, that's 100%. Never said they couldn't. They just don't desire it. It's like, how do you make a man say, be satisfied with one woman? It's crazy because when you see men get married, the first thing men say, man, yeah, you off the market. You gotta be. It's just one woman. It makes it so sad.
Chain,
ball and chain. You got the old ball and chain.
Yeah.
It's spoken about in such negative terminology instead of saying, man, that's amazing. You're gonna have this one woman for the rest of your life, man. This is beautiful. It'd be like, you're gonna have this one woman for the rest of your life.
Like they say on Martin, you gonna miss the freak train.
Yeah.
If you get married.
But even, why even desire it? Like if this is truly. Because this is what I hate, is when men tell women what men like. Women like, no, not my man. Yeah, your man. So my whole thing is like, why do we even bother? Like I think that, so Mom was just saying that women were taught to, be abstinent, be faithful. But I feel like that came from a man. A trifling old man who wanted things done his way.
You're saying that some man told women
to be
that
faithful.
we need to be faithful.
We
We
need
need
to
to
be
be
faithful.
a one. Why are you shaking your head?
And he convinced some woman to spread them lies.
No.
Somebody lying.
Everything, just go read the book of Corinthians. It is a biblical practice.
But why
not,
we reading it and the men are not having
because
to do it?
if you stop to look at it, and y'all can come for me, all the pastors, y'all can come for me. I'm fine.
They cheating too.
No.
Shots fired.
No.
Shots fired.
No. Every man, I don't believe.
Oh God.
every man cheats. I don't believe.
Okay. What is
What's
the
your
percentage?
What is your percentage?
I don't know.
1%?
No. And here's what I say. I've even told my husband this. I don't say nobody is not capable of anything when you're not in my presence. I don't put my hands on a stack of Bible for anybody because I don't know what you're capable of. I'm just saying if you have, you ain't got caught yet. But if I ever catch you, it's a wrap.
I'm gonna cut you.
I'm not gonna cut anybody. I won't cut that way. But what I will say is that
We keeping it lit.
the Bible is not just for women.
Right.
And when I say pastors, you can come for me. Bring somebody like me in the room to talk to your men, because the men always want to tell women what we need to do, but I rarely hear pastors really honing down on what the guys. What are your roles? What are your responsibilities? And walking you through the Bible about commitment, about relationship, and all the research that you are now doing. Maybe that's going to be a piece of your calling. I don't know. But I am really tired. I listen to message after message. And then after a while, you hear that pastor or that speaker address women as what we need to do. No, what we need to do is hold y'all accountable.
100%.
Period.
Well,
100%.
actually, I just Googled this. AARP magazine found that 46% of men reported cheating on their partners. So that's quite a bit.
That's the one that reported. That's the one that admitted it.
Wait a minute. And then for all of the fraternity wives, Laterras said, some of the frat brothers out there, I know all of them gonna look at this and say, hey, say.
Hey man,
I feel like the thing that really sucks is, in my mind, the difference between men or women. Women have the ability to cheat just like men.
And some of them do too.
Some of them do.
A lot of them.
However, I feel like a man is like, if there is a chance that nobody will ever, like I'm on the other side of the world.
And no one find out.
Nobody ever know that this woman gave oral sex or whatever. I feel like every man would do it. But women are like, oh, I could be caught on some
guilty.
camera.
Yeah.
I could be somebody.
Yeah.
Because we're, like he was saying,
Yeah.
we're emotional. And
Yeah,
women,
emotional.
like you said, women think about the cheating. That's
Yeah.
why most men get more upset and they want to kill you.
Yeah.
Because they
know what you had to go do in order to do that.
Do you not remember one of my favorite movies, Who Can Play That Game?
Oh, yes, I love that.
And Anthony Anderson was telling
Morris Chestnut.
she over there talking to that. She over there having a conversation with that. That's serious, man. She ain't just on the dance floor dancing. They went outside. They talking. What he's saying is we think about it more. And it's more emotional.
That's
Once
facts.
we cheat, it's like we thought about it.
Yep.
Men, like
Right.
he said, will just go to the club, have a beer, and be like, oh, I hit. I didn't
Yep.
think about it. It's like Lil Wayne says, I can't quote him, but he says, once I come to my senses. And like
Yeah.
Charity said,
Yeah.
it's like it's a post-sex thought.
Yeah.
That they think, and it's like, oh, I just hit. But us,
Yeah.
we're like, I sat out, I talked to him, I went to dinner, we did this, we did. So yeah, it's a little bit deeper when we cheat,
That's
and
facts.
we're more secretive.
And a lot of times when they do cheat, they've already counted the cost that
Yes.
they would want to be with him.
With him, exactly.
Yeah.
That part.
If it falls with
That
you, they be
part.
like, cool, I'm with him.
That
You know what I'm
part.
saying? But
Yeah.
a man would be like, I don't want to be with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Janae, you were talking about how
Yeah.
men would do it if they know they wouldn't get caught. There's like this, I don't know if it's a trend on TikTok, but it's usually in Nashville or somewhere where it's a lot of bachelor parties or
Okay.
Vegas. And the girls are like, hey, if you're marrying Brian in
Right.
2 months, I just wanted to let you know that he's hitting on all these girls and he's cheating. It's like a thing. They're like,
Yes.
they
I
give
haven't
exact
seen that.
details and they'll be like, what he had on. They'll be like, girl,
They overheard
if
the
your name is Jessica, he don't want you.
Oh, got you.
It's real good though.
You tell me they telling true stories?
Yes. So
Yes.
they'll say, I overheard
Busted.
your man at the club with his homie and blah, 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 blah.
Bang, bang.
They give date, location, all that.
So I have a question, Laterras.
Dog.
At the end of the night,
Getting hard in these streets.
or the next morning, is there any type of remorse?
Me, when I cheated on my wife, I was like the very first time, the remorse got it lessened the more I did it. But the first time I cheated, I felt horrible. I felt a veil break. I literally felt something break in me. I literally felt in the Bible, when Jesus died on the cross, it said the veil torn.
Mm-hmm.
I literally felt that in my marriage. I felt it and I went home. It's interesting because the first thing that anybody does typically when they do any sinful act is they go shower because they want to wash it off. That's the first thing I did. I went straight to the shower. I was like, do not pass go straight there, take a shower. And I wanted to wash the sin off of me. And then I felt like she could see it. I felt like she was looking at me differently. Like I'm looking at her like, oh, can she see? Can she see and you try to be a little extra. Hey, how you doing? You know,
Yeah.
you just doing way too much
Yeah.
because you're trying to cover up,
Compensate.
yeah, and compensate
Yeah.
from the sin that I had. And so, I felt it. I wanted to throw up when I drove away from my house. It was
But you
was
kept
terrible.
cheating.
Yes, because it got easier.
I mean, but so
was
the
fun.
guilt is pointless.
No,
Like,
it's not, because it's the same thing with anything.
You
The
have to get
first time
tired.
you do anything, you'll go, oh my God, I feel bad about it. And then because still there's a deficiency in the marriage that's not being addressed.
Yeah, you're right.
So it ain't
Yeah,
like
you're right.
everything is great.
You're
So
right.
so it's a deficiency in the marriage, and then the minute that deficiency is recognized or it keeps rearing up its ugly head, then you go, let me go ahead and self-medicate over here. Let me
Gotcha.
go self-medicate over here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens. Whether it's you cheating or you doing whatever, hanging out with your homegirls, I ain't finna go. Girl, what we doing today? I ain't finna go home because I don't want to see him. You're compensating because you want to spend time with your friends versus going back home
I
with
know
that
some.
with your spouse. So you spend all this time out. A lot of men do it even if they're not cheating. If they become workaholics and say, I can control this.
Right.
I'm finna climb the corporate ladder in my business and become the best whatever it is here. I'm not going home.
And they
because
stay
at
on the
home-
road, or
and
they stay in the
on the
office
road,
for
they
10
stay in the
hours.
office for forever.
They see it for an hour when they get home.
There it
Got
is.
you.
And just enough to go sleep.
Got you.
I don't think this is a topic that we don't have enough time to unpack it. Like
Right.
it's got so many different layers in it. But I will say, therapy is good. And I think when we do have these challenges, because a lot of women are going to hear this, a lot of brothers going to be like, "Oh man, he done busted us," but
They don't care because they know the woman gonna take them back.
But no. But what I'm saying, my question to you, as looking for this future wifey, what now has changed about you that would make her say, "Oh, he's not going to do that to me"? What type of accountability settings are now within you that was not there before?
The first part is the biggest issue is the ability to admit it. Before, like I said, when I was sinning, I wouldn't talk about it. I just hide. The second part is my commitment to God and submitting to abstinence. Me taking the vow of abstinence, something I've never ever done in my life. So by me taking the vow of abstinence is allowing me to view myself differently as well as view my sisters in Christ differently. I can look at them and be like, "You're not mine. I don't post to have sex with you. I want to only have sex with my wife." And so it's a different mindset. And then God is also healing those broken little boy pieces that were inside of me to teach me how to man up. And I've had to go through a lot of healing, and I do it right in front of the world. It was an episode that I did back in January, in the episode Heal Sis Heal. And I'm thinking it was supposed to be for women. And this therapist, Brittany, she began to talk about her story, and in the midst of her talking about her story, it began to trigger me. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna break down crying." And at the end of that episode, when I go to read my letter to my future wifey, I said, "To the woman that broke my heart 3 years ago, I forgive you." And I had to release that pain. But at first, if I never released that, the woman who I quote unquote proposed to in the future, she would have gotten that broken Laterras, even though it wasn't even addressed. I would have still been limping. And the minute that she did something that was a little triggering, I'm like, "Oh, you just like that last chick. You just like, I'm seeing them signs. You just like her." You know what I'm saying? But now I can get healed from that situation and give my future wifey a clean slate and let her be able to walk out whatever our story is.
So during the time of temptations, because I know women are up in your DM, okay? So during those times of temptation with this newfound, I have this commitment to abstinence, how do you step back from that?
Make sure that I don't put myself in those situations that will make me smash a chick. That's about the best way to put it. I have to avoid those situations altogether, and to know what type of chick I can actually hang around with. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm really big about being around women that are on the same program as me. It set me up for failure. If I'm over here trying to practice abstinence and I'm around a woman that says, "I ain't trying to do that," oh, we in trouble.
So you're not going to
recipe.
bring her on a date to your house. Y'all not going to, have a little nightcap. No. Or those triggering,
No, so I'm triggered in certain situations. I'm triggered in certain. I understand the spirit that attracts me to a woman.
Okay.
Like, I know what that is.
Okay.
Oh, I know it. So it's certain type of women that that's why I said the program that the woman is on. If I'm dating a woman that she's abstinent and she has a commitment to be abstinent until we get married, then that's a safer place for me because now we're both holding each other accountable.
Right.
But if I'm dating a woman, it ain't gonna even work that way anyway. I wouldn't even date a woman that's not practicing abstinence, and it's just not gonna happen.
When do you ask that question?
I asked at the very beginning. Because I ain't got no time to play.
I agree because I have several friends who are single, and so they're like, Janae, it's different out here.
No, it's way different.
Guys are not waiting even 30 days. Well, then they're not dating me.
Yeah.
And so my question to them is, how is that working for you? Because if you're sleeping with every guy that you like because you've hit a certain point, but you really want to be married, how is that working for you?
And that's the conundrum. That's the problem.
Well,
is because they oftentimes feel like, "Oh, I'm different." You know what I'm saying? And they think that, well, maybe I'm different. And a lot of men, and you have men that think both ways. They say that, no, me having sex with a woman early doesn't change whether or not I'm going to be with her or marry her. They feel that. And I say, y'all can have that. For me, it's something totally different. I know it opens up a different space in my mind. I know what it does for me. That's why I never try to tell people what they should do. I know what works for me and I know what hinders me.
Gotcha.
And so this is all about me. It's selfish in my journey. It's me saying, listen, this don't work for me. Like, it just don't.
That's good. I before we segue into something else, I want you to share the story about your son
Calling me out.
Calling you out.
So Armani was, this was back in July. and he was looking for something to armrest in my car, and he looked and he saw a box of condoms. He was like, Dad, what are you doing with these? What you think I'm doing with these?
Right.
He was like, but you're not married and you're a Christian. You can't be having sex. And I said, well, how you think I get by raising you? You know, I need a stress reliever in my life. I try to make light of it and joke about it. And he was like, nah, Dad, you ain't supposed to be having sex. You're a Christian. I was like, man, whatever.
Right.
But when I tell you that hit, and I was like, oh my God, which I talked about in the episode with me and Jay Barnett, Heal Brother Heal. And that's why God is so intentional on pursuing my heart, is that I mentioned that in Heal Brother Heal, not realizing I was revealing my pain. And I was like, so I joked about it on the podcast and this. That was in July. And December, that seed was planted in my head. And Armani, he records my episodes. So he's hearing me talk about this. He's seeing this. He and I have conversations about it. He had conversations about how he will never cheat on his wife. He said, I don't see why people cheat on their wife. You do all that work, go through all the process of getting married and winning this woman's heart, and then you cheat on her. Who does that? And, I'm listening to him. I'm like, just made me feel this small, but okay, I get it. Right. I get it. I said I'll learn and I'll take my medicine from anybody. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow. I went and visited Pastor Conway's church that January. He planted a seed where he talked about single men just sowing their oats and thinking that that's great, but you have a legacy that you're building. Why go out here and do this foolishness, basically? Seed that was planted. Then when I did season 2, I brought a lady on, Lestine Bell, with an episode called Abstain the Game, which, and I named it that. And going forward, normally I always know the episode names, and I was like, I just don't know what this is, because I wasn't connected to abstinence. I was like, I know God wants me to do it eventually one day, but right now I'm having fun. This just don't even make sense. And so she said, God gonna give you the name. I said, nah, this one I don't know. Maybe you can name it. And then while I was editing it, God said, abstain the game, and I said, so you telling me that what you're saying is that in order to gain, you must abstain? God said, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, that hit me a little bit. All right, let's keep moving. And so then I named that episode that, and God told me, I'm going to place you in position one day where you do a purity ceremony for men. And I said, that's hilarious. That's the craziest thing. Right. That is hilarious. Never going to happen, God. Never going to happen. First of all, I don't even see why a guy would do that. Second of all, I'm sure not going to be the one to do it. And then God had me sponsor her purity ceremony on my podcast. And we did that. Over 300 something women made a vow of purity. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. I was watching this whole thing go down. I said, and see, this is the disconnect. The disconnect is these women are getting right. And these women are submitting themselves to God. And these women are leveling up in their spirituality and everything else in their life. But then they're going to inherit men that break that vow.
Message.
There it is.
There it is.
And they're going to inherit men that break that vow. And I said, God. And God said, that's why I need you to do this. And I was like, I just don't see it.
And the same spirit that dwells, the Lord is Lord. It's not a God for men and a God and the Holy Spirit for women. The same spirit that can help women, abstain from having sex or any type of sin. Yeah. It's not just sex. It's anything. That is the same Holy Spirit that can keep those who want to be kept.
100%.
So for any of you brothers out there that really want to be kept, you don't have to pimp or die anymore.
Go. Oh, if you don't get off that pimp or die. Okay.
Where'd she get that from? Where'd she get that from?
Well, I don't know. Is this from like 1970?
No.
Like who says that?
This is what happened.
What happened?
When don't tell who. No, I'm gonna tell. Joe wouldn't care. So
well, okay.
So he told our boys when you went to college that you should pimp or die. But he doesn't want our daughter to be treated in that same way. So he's like, don't do this, don't do that. But with the boys, it's like, if she willing to pay your bills, if she willing to buy you food in college, if she willing to give you rides, if she really, but it's kind of like, so mom has never liked that he said that, but it stays with her.
And I had to say to my grandsons, and some advice, even though they're your parents, you should not
listen to.
But they did.
Wait, first of all, mom just took the mic and said this, Kamisha. I said, I ain't done yet.
I said, I I ain't done yet. Yeah,
okay.
that's her.
All
That's
right.
her.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we talk. Let's get off the sex thing. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. Kind of sitting outside. So you talked about your marriage before. Did you have kids within that marriage?
No.
I know you mentioned you had a son. So
no kids.
okay, so
But you haven't. Your
foster. Did you adopt? Did you foster?
I adopted after the marriage. I
Okay.
adopted my nephew and Armani.
okay.
So my
what made
nephew-
you? What made you do that?
My sister was battling drug addiction, and my nephew was in foster care system. He spent 7 months there, and as soon as my divorce was final, I adopted him.
Okay.
Well, I first started off fostering him, and then hoping that my sister would
get
kick
him
the drugs or whatnot,
Right.
and it didn't happen, and so I had to go and adopt him.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of adopting. There's so many kids out there who need a home.
Right.
Ton of 'em.
And, you know, I understand that people can't always have kids and you have to that's something you have to walk through.
Yeah.
But then you have to realize there's also kids that want parents and you
Yes.
want to be a parent. So
There
I don't
it is.
know.
He did something different that most people don't do is he adopted teenagers.
Yeah.
You know, most of the time it's the 5 and unders that are getting adopted. You know, all the other kids are overlooked and sometimes stay in foster care until they're 18 and then they're given a certain amount of money and okay, go live
figure
life.
out figure out your life. And so that's why I told God after I adopted my nephew, I adopted him at 8. And then I said, God, I'll be willing to adopt again, but the kid will have to be 16. And then if you watch that little mini documentary I did about Armani, called Pursuing Armani, God placed him in my home on his 16th birthday. Nobody but God.
Right.
Nobody but God. And he's 18 and he's in his senior year and he's thriving.
Well, good.
And the thing I would say about Armani, and what I loved about the documentary, if you look at the documentary and see where he was, and look to see who Armani is now,
Yes.
you will see a child, a young man that's been fathered.
Yes. Yes.
It's a total difference just in that little span.
Yep.
And we don't think that we think it takes a long period of time to help children transform into who God really has called them to be. All it takes is dedication and commitment and just staying with them.
And love.
Love. I mean, unconditional love.
Yeah.
Someone asked the other day, one of my cousins said, what did you learn from your father? And people were talking about different things, that their dad had taught. And I really stopped and I said, what did I really learn from my father? And what I learned from my father is unconditional love.
There it is.
Period.
That's
There it
good
is.
for you.
There it is.
I didn't learn that from my father.
we don't need to talk about
We're not
that.
going to talk about
My biological father.
Lord Jesus.
talk about
Some
biological
people
father.
were raised. We actually talked about this in my group chat with my boys. Some people
crazy.
were raised off of love, and some people were raised off of survival. And we
Yes.
talked about that, in
That's good.
my group chat today. So I was like, yeah.
You were in a
that's
group chat with
true.
who?
Let me shout them out because one of them is going to be on
Lord.
here. My boys, A-Dub and Black.
That's a lot.
It's just 2 of y'all in the group chat? Or 3 of y'all in the
It's 3
group
of
chat?
them. But this is what's dope. I've been in it for 5 years.
They do
it's
a lot.
2 of them. It's the 2 guys
Yeah.
and then me. And I learned Janae knows. Some days I'm so mad. I'm like, I can't believe they said this. But they really tell me their views on women and marriage and whatever. But I learn a lot, honestly. Really talking to men, sitting here talking to him.
Me too.
I've absorbed so much.
And I think that maybe not all, I don't know. I think a lot of women need real male
Yes.
friends that don't want to touch
Okay.
them
Yeah.
because I
Really
think
quick. Can men and women be friends?
I said I ain't done
Yeah,
yet.
she was still
So-
talking.
I ain't done yet.
No, so I have a lot of male friends that are really just my friends, and I learned so much from them because they'll be honest. A
Yes.
guy that's not your friend, they're gonna sugarcoat it a little bit
Exactly.
and just tiptoe around. But every woman needs at least 1 or 2.
At least a straight male friend that don't want your booty,
Yeah.
and then a gay bestie.
Oh my God.
Like me. I have my gay bestie, and he keeps it real. Girl, your wig, I don't like that. I don't like your shoes. He keeps it real.
I
like
agree. When I started dating Mark, that was one of the things that we had a conversation and I said most of my friends are males. And they never tried to hit on me, but those are the guys they didn't.
Somebody lying.
No, the guy what we were just saying, those guys never
can't say
tried
it,
to hit on me. They were my friends. And they were always there to say no to that. And you need to watch out for that.
So, Mom, I love that somebody helped you out in that time of need when you almost, dabbled over to the other side. But great for you. So again, because I'm uncomfortable next to mom talking about this stuff, let's go to outside of your podcasting. I think Misha said that you did. Sorry, I'm really good at listening.
He's an award-winning playwright and producer.
There we
He's
go.
done tons of dope big church productions and videos. He, one of his best friends is Kenny Lattimore. He does a lot. So
Come on, Kenny.
outside of that, what else are you currently working on outside of the podcast that you're able to talk about, or
Well, I'm in the. I'm writing a movie. I'm writing the Dear Future Wifey movie, and so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, and guess what? Because you know this.
With your actress.
I'm going to be the main character because I am main character energy, period.
I think he might just give you a cameo, like the woman in Starbucks.
Girl, no.
I want to be in the movie too.
No.
But I want to be like real dramatic and extra. Who's like Angela Bassett? She be acting real hard.
Very
I can do
hard.
that.
You can do that.
And I'm gonna
That's
be.
who you are.
I'm gonna
Cherry.
be
That's not-
Ayana.
It wouldn't be acting.
Who?
You'd
I'm
be
gonna
out.
be
Iyana.
Iyana.
She's gonna be the therapist.
I'm
In
gonna be
it.
the therapist.
But I want to make
Wait,
this clear.
stop.
I am going to be main character.
First of all, the name is Iyanla.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm gonna be June Sweets.
Yeah. She can barely say that.
Okay. So you're doing a movie.
Yes.
And Kamisha said you did plays as well. So we all actually went to a play. We went to Tyler Perry's Last Farewell, whatever.
Yes.
The farewell
And
tour.
it was so funny.
So
Yeah.
good.
But you think plays are a thing of the past, or you think they're gonna make a comeback?
Plays have been around since the beginning of time, all the way from Greek theater. Broadway is never going anywhere. So
Right.
when you think of theater, then think of it as a whole instead of a segmented African American theater.
Gotcha.
With the pandemic being what it is, it's just making it hard on entertainment as a whole. But plays not going nowhere.
Okay.
Well, that's good. Maybe we should go to like a Broadway play soon.
Yeah.
We went to Cinderella a couple years ago.
Who is we?
We all did as a family, girl, like in 2017.
I wasn't there.
Charity, you
Well,
were there.
That's
when we
really
went to
rude.
New York.
Wow.
Honestly.
Oh, I was there. No. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think you chose to skip out on that family trip. She weird.
No, you may have been in college. Maybe that.
Not in
It wasn't that
2017.
Kamisha said a couple years ago.
Charity graduated in
2011.
Girl.
Okay, anyway, so we have a new segment we're gonna introduce. We're actually gonna play something called This or That. And it's gonna be like a little lightning round. Okay.
Yes.
So are you ready?
I'm scared.
And he doesn't know any of these questions.
And you can elaborate if you want to.
Yeah.
Totally up to you. Okay.
Okay.
It's only like 5. So do you want more kids or no?
Yes.
How many?
One, and hopefully adopt a child.
Really?
Yes.
A girl or a boy?
I want to have a girl, and I want to adopt probably a girl.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But I want to be married when I do both of those things.
Okay.
Okay. With that, what if the woman that you're dating is like, I don't want kids?
She don't want me.
Okay.
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 So speaking of women, thicker than a Snicker or slim thick?
Slim thick.
Okay. Beautiful and an airhead or smart and just cute?
Smart and just cute.
But what's just cute to you?
Just cute to me.
You can go like famous wise, like
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
that is
Misha-
getting deleted.
Misha 08. That's a good one.
Wow.
I look at
she
Misha
said
08.
you was just cute.
Right.
That was okay. It's fine.
It's
But
getting
she's smart.
weird.
She cute
He
and
said
smart.
cute
Very
and
smart.
smart, and I
Yeah.
was just.
I think Kamisha wants to be the beautiful in the air. I think that's what it was.
No, I do not. It's getting weird.
Which one would you rather be? The beautiful and airhead?
Beautiful and very intelligent. Are you serious?
That was not the option.
That was not the option.
I said this or that.
This or that.
Okay, and
I am
last
Beyonce
one.
and Kim K all in one.
Last one. Are you gonna do grown and sexy or young and wild?
Grown and sexy.
I mean, I don't know if
Grown and sexy, but okay.
What's your cutoff? What's your cutoff?
Wait. So if we're doing this and we're having kids, so I'm 44. My childbearing days are over. So for women, and most of the time, women in their 40s, not all. So is she 40-ish or 30-ish?
You know what? I've been looking at that. I get a lot of 30-year-olds that approach me, and I'm just not. something about a 30-year-old. I'll be like, I
How
be
old
feeling
are
like they're a kid. I'm 43.
Right.
Okay.
But they be real grown. Like 30-year-olds be grown, but I just be trying to, I'm so biased. So I just be like, oh, so
They
rest
haven't
your
lived
heart.
enough life. So.
Yeah, I just be like, huh. But I like, I used to try to put limits on. I wouldn't date anybody younger than 36.
Okay.
I'm open. And when you think about kids, it's not so much as she has to be willing to have kids. If she's able to have kids, then she has to be willing to have kids. So
Gotcha.
if I fell in love with somebody that's 42, 43, whatever, and just biologically she couldn't have kids, that won't rule her out. You know what I'm saying?
What if she's had a hysterectomy? What if she has
Then
fibroids?
that's
all
what I
types
said.
of
That
stuff?
wouldn't rule her out.
That
Meaning
wouldn't
that
rule
if
her
she
out.
can't have kids,
Okay.
then she can't have kids.
But if
Okay.
she 44 and them eggs still work,
and we can have
I
kids.
want my eggs.
Crack. I want my back. Last name change.
Last name change. Amen.
Okay,
So
well-
I'm real open.
Well, that is really it. I feel like mom had something to say because she just got like real.
Shifty.
Yeah, like what you all doing this?
No. Misha's over there talking about my back crack.
I think she wanted her back, bro.
Listen.
a back need to be cracked.
Okay.
No, you've already explained what it is on an episode. You've already
I'll
said
say it again because mom
Say it
is
again.
confused.
What does
I
that
am
mean?
referring to, because obviously he doesn't know either. So I'm referring to Tiffany Pollard from I Love New York. It's a reality show.
Yeah.
She's went on a dating show and her dating show, and she was sitting across from Blind Dates, and she literally, it's so funny. She literally looked at him and she goes, I want my back cracked. I want my eggs broken. I want my last name changed. And he was like, this date's over. So it's just a joke. I would
New
never
York.
say
Hey,
that
I
on the first
mean,
date. But,
we don't need to know what you need to say on the first date, but
okay.
you want.
Well,
But Misha want her back broke. That's what I heard.
okay.
Okay, well,
It's getting weird.
I do have one last thing I want to add.
Pass the mic, Kobe.
I said I ain't done yet.
So, Laterras, we try to leave something for our audience to take control of. So, if you're talking to, I want you to talk to the men. We've been Mama Bears have already
Oh
been
Lord,
talking to
she had to stutter.
Spit it out.
So, I'd like you to talk to the guys. What is one thing you would say that how could they take control over those who want to do now what you're doing? They really are serious about being in a relationship. They're really serious about commitment. They really are looking for that wife, but they don't know how to stop the madness.
I would say take control over your healing. Before you can birth anything, before you can fall in love with someone else, you got to first fall in love with you. And if you're not in love with yourself, not from a narcissistic standpoint, but in love with the you looking in your mirror and saying, I like who I become, then you have to go through digging up those ugly places that you don't want to revisit, deal with, we hear a lot about women having father wounds, but a lot of men have very deep rooted father wounds. And so deal with your healing, go through therapy. It's okay. A lot of men they shun away from therapy because they like, I don't want people to think something wrong with me. Like I'm crazy. No, we all crazy. We all need help.
Right.
So it's not saying something is bad. You take your car. Most men will take meticulous care of their vehicle, but they won't take meticulous care of their own heart and their own mind. And so take your healing, take control of your healing and get healed.
I like that.
Take care of you. Yep.
I like that.
Hey, thank y'all for tuning into this episode of I'm in Control podcast. Laterras, thank you so much for joining us. Whenever you want to come back,
We're doing an episode 2, so let's get this on the air right now.
There it is.
period.
There it is.
Let's
Yes.
check on it?
Yes,
Period.
we're gonna
Coming
check
back?
on it. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Period.
He's coming back. Part 2, period.
That's on period.
That's okay.
all right, thank y'all. We are out. I am the Charity E.
I am June Speak.
I am Janae.
I'm Misha 08.
Oh, and I'm Laterras R. Whitfield.
Hey, and we are out. Bye.
Bye.
Hasta luego.